Today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful pop-up Christmas cards with the help of your Cricut machine. We're going to be featuring the nativity card in this video, but we have several other styles and they are all basically made the same way. So make sure you check them out. The links are below. The supplies you'll need for this project are your Cricut machine. You'll need to have a Cricut mat. I'm going to be using my brayer tool, 65-pound medium weight cardstock. I'll be featuring the Barely Art glue and also my scoring stylus. Okay, so in Cricut Design Space, the first thing you need to do for this project setup is upload this template file. You can find more information linked below to download this template for yourself. It is an original Abbi Kirsten Collections creation, and all those details are below for you. So if you've never uploaded a file to Design Space before, you're going to visit this upload button on the far left-hand side, and you're going to click on Upload Image. And then wherever you saved the file to, wherever you downloaded it, you're going to bring it over here. You can either click Browse Your Computer to open your file finder, or you can just drag and drop it, and you'll get a preview there. Now, if you downloaded this as a zip file rather than individual files from our craft vault, just make sure that you've unzipped the file first because you do need to upload the individual SVGs and not whole zip files. So I'm going to click Upload at the bottom corner there, and then I'm going to select it under Recent Uploads, and we'll add it to our canvas. So it's going to come in at a pretty normal size, but I would encourage you to make some fine-tuned size adjustments here according to your preference. So as you can see with my first example here, I decided to enlarge it a little bit, especially to make some of those other details cut just a little bit cleaner. Ultimately, that's up to you, but just keep in mind the scale, especially if you're working with different models of Cricut machines that might have different width capabilities and stuff like that. When you do scale something in Design Space, make sure you're always scaling it as a group as it is right now, so that we're not disrupting any of the proportions here of these pieces, so that everything is still remaining proportional to the other pieces. So I'm just going to come to the right corner here, and I'm just going to scale this up just a little bit, about like that. And then the only other thing we need to do here is set our score lines. So I'm going to right click and ungroup. And you're going to notice that there are some score lines present here. They are currently just these black lines that are sitting on these pieces here. So you need to select those and then go up to the operation and change it to score. Once you do that, go ahead and click and drag over both that brown base piece and the score line, and use your attach tool at the bottom of the layers panel to attach the score line to the piece that's going to be cut out. If we don't use that attach tool, then you're not going to be able to keep that score line exactly where you want it. So just make sure you walk through those steps and use that attach tool to set your score lines. This piece here is meant to be a message that you can put on the back. So you can type something out here if you want your Cricut to write for you. So for example, I could grab my text tool and I could type out Merry Christmas. It's already defaulting to a text that I was playing with earlier, but if you want to learn how to filter for writing fonts, just select your text here and then go into the font menu, and you can use this filter option here to filter by writing font options. And let's just change it for fun to see how that would look differently. Make sure your style is writing style, and you'll get that perfect, pretty handwritten effect with your pen using your Cricut machine. And then just like we did with our score lines, make sure you click and drag over both the pen and this base and use your attach tool so that it stays exactly that way when we go to the cut screen. Don't forget to save your project. That way you don't ever have to do these setup steps again. You can just come back and remake the project anytime you wish. Go ahead and click on your Make It button, and then it's going to take you to your cut screen. You can make this project with any of the Cricut models. Just know that if you're using the original Joy, you may need to reduce the size a bit, and just be mindful of that and how that might cut for some of the smaller pieces. Go ahead and click Continue and connect to your Cricut machine when you're ready. I'm connecting via Bluetooth to my Maker 3. You can also use Explorers, the Joy Extra, the Venture, any of those are going to work as well. I'm going to be using medium cardstock for most of these here. If you get to any of the pieces, like this one with Oh Holy Night, or the Holy Night here, you may want to consider cardstock for intricate cuts in case you're dealing with any finite details like those letters that we're cutting there, but that setting is available when you browse all material settings. Otherwise, I'm going to be opting for the medium cardstock in most cases. And when you land on those mats that have the score lines, you'll be asked to put in either a scoring wheel or a scoring stylus if you do not have a Maker model, and that will allow you to score. And the same thing will be true for when Cricut asks you to insert your pen to do that writing that we set up on the canvas there. Let's go ahead and get this cut out. I'm going to go ahead and load my paper onto my Cricut mat here. I'll use my brayer tool to press the material to the mat. And if it is a mat that we're scoring, I'll go ahead and insert that scoring stylus there. You could also use a scoring wheel. And we're just going to go through each of the mats that Cricut presents to us in Design Space, cutting out a corresponding color or whichever color you would like. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Cricut can't tell the difference. So you can go ahead and get all that cut out. Also go through the pen process. If you opt to do that, you'll be inserting that into the clamp A as well. And then you're going to go get all your pieces stacked together there, and we'll start the assembly. So the initial step is very simple. You just want to layer everything together. If you need a little bit of a guide as far as what goes where, just visit the Design Space canvas and take a look at how the file is layered together, and that'll give you the perfect visual aid you need to know where each piece goes. And it's pretty quick to put together, depending on which of these cards you're doing. We have a Nutcracker one, a Snowman one, and several others. Some of them have more layers than others. This one was a little bit on the easier side, but the other ones, especially our Santa Claus one, that one definitely has lots of these little layers that you'll just take your time putting together with some of that Barely Art glue. I'm going to do the same thing here with the next layer. In this case, we have Mary, and she's got all of these pieces here that are going to come together to create a really pretty layered effect. So the next step is going to be to take that base piece, the backmost piece, and you'll notice with several of these cards that in some cases you're going to actually layer it together, and there's not going to actually be a space between it like there will be for these 3 other layers that you see around me here. But this layer here you want to add glue to and actually press it together. Next, start inserting these 3 pieces here, which are going to ultimately give us our pop-up effect. You'll notice that each one of them has a little tab that slides through, and you'll put some glue and just bend it right where it sort of stops naturally. And you'll repeat that with each one of the 3 pieces. And then you'll see that there are slots that we're going to be sliding things into. But the best thing to do is to start with the back piece first and then put the front piece on, doing the exact same thing by placing those little tabs through the slots and gluing them down. And then the 2 remaining pieces that go in between the front and the back piece, you're going to slide those down and on to those inside slots that you see with those tabs that we've basically created an extension between all the pieces. So we're going to take this first one here, which is the Mary piece. And again, if you're using this with other cards for these other styles, then just look at how it's layered in the file and you'll easily know which comes next. And you're going to wiggle that down around. This part takes a few minutes of patience just to get it all aligned, but just be patient with it and you will get it. Once you get it wiggled down around there, it'll sort of sit flush as soon as you sit it upright. I'm going to repeat that with this next piece here. So there's always going to be 2 pieces that sit in between the front and the back piece for a total of 4. Now for this nativity scene, there is actually a top piece that goes on it as well. You will notice with our other ones, there is not. So you're saving yourself a step if you do the other card designs. But just know that if you don't see that, it doesn't mean anything's missing. It just means that you're not doing the nativity card. So for this one, you want to actually thread this through just like you did on the bottom, and you're going to add glue. And then the slots are going to sit in the little cutout slots that are on the 2 pieces sitting in the middle. And that's just going to add a little more support to the top. I found with the other cards it wasn't necessary. It stood up pretty well on its own, but for this nativity shaped one, it really needed that extra support. So I created this piece that went in on the top, much like the bottom ones are. So it's pretty easy to just get it glued in there on each end and then wiggle it into place with those grooves. But like I said, the other cards didn't require this piece, so you won't see that included. And go ahead and test the card as far as pressing it flat to one direction, and then you can actually press it back the other direction as well. It'll go and fold either way. And we've got the fundamentals of our card done now. I'm going to go ahead and add on the star, and I'm going to place that right on the front there. And you can make this star a little smaller if you want. I noticed that when I actually stood the car up, it kind of blocked a little bit of Joseph's head in the back. So if you want to make it a little smaller, you can. There is a finishing base piece that goes around the whole card. So that was one of the pieces that had score lines added to it. You'll fold along those score lines and then glue it to the front of the card. You'll also glue it to the back of the card. And then you'll glue the sides together and it'll just give it a nice finishing touch along the bottom. So you're going to see these small little pieces in the file here, and these are just going to act as the ability to sort of act as a stopper. From the pieces we've slid into the grooves, they can easily come out. So if you fold these in half lengthwise, you're going to slide them up and around between where the two pieces intersect so that it actually stops the piece that we slid down from sliding out. So I was showing you my nutcracker one here because I got a better shot of that. But you'll just add a little bit of glue and you'll slide it right down over that in the base. And you can also do this along the top of the nativity one as well. You can do as little as 2 of these just to give it that bit of security, or you can do even more and go as much as like 6 of them. So it's really ultimately up to you, but it's just a little extra security for those pieces so they don't fall out. And then for the back of my card here, I'm going to add another star piece to cover up that little brown contrast. Ideally, you could have stuck that between the purple and the yellow layer and you wouldn't see that at all. But since I didn't take that into consideration when I put this together, I'm just going to add a little final note right there so it looks a little cleaner. I'm also going to go ahead and glue on our little message that we had Cricut write for us on that one piece in the template. Of course, optional, but it's great to add a little personalized message. You can have your Cricut write for you like we did, or if you like your handwriting, you can go ahead and write it yourself. Either is perfectly fine. And then I'm going to add the little phrase to the front here. It's 2 layers. It says Holy Night, and then it has a base layer that we'll put together. And we'll just glue that right to the front to complete the card project. Remember, I have more of these. I have a nutcracker, I have a Santa, I have a snowman, I have Hanukkah ones as well. So they're lots of fun to make. They're not too complicated, but they are definitely a showstopper for sure to say that you made something like this. And they collapse flat so that you can put them into an envelope and send them to somebody. I recommend doing like a cardboard envelope that you can get off of Amazon. I do have an envelope template that is included, but you will need to have a much larger size mat. So you'll need like a 12 by 24 inch mat in order to get that to work properly and cut out at the size you need it to be. So make sure you check out the rest of these designs. They're all linked below for our members on members.abbikirstencollections.com. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks so much for watching and Merry Christmas. Bye for now.